Must keep going. Just a little further. Oh, I'm so tired. Almost there. I can feel it.
Ola! I have tolerated this foolishness long enough. Look at yourself. You refuse to walk, refuse to work, refuse to learn, and refuse to change. Listen carefully. I am giving you exactly 2 weeks. 2 weeks to change your ways, learn to take care of yourself, and become responsible. And if you do not change within those 2 weeks, I swear before this entire kingdom, I will marry you off immediately!
A long time ago, in a beautiful kingdom called Olamma, there lived King Amadi and his gentle, beautiful wife, Queen Adora. They were really wealthy and had everything a royal family could desire: silver, gold, mansions, loyal subjects, overflowing barns, and a palace that shone like polished brass whenever the morning sun touched it. But inside their hearts sat one heavy sorrow. They had no child. For many years, no little feet ran through the palace halls. No innocent laughter warmed their nights. No child called the king father or rested in the queen's arms. They prayed, they cried, they fasted, they offered sacrifices. They visited prophets, herbalists, and physicians. If someone had told them to climb the tallest palm tree and sing to the moon at that moment, they would have done it. They were desperate to have a child, but still nothing happened. Some nights, Queen Adora would sit by the window wiping her tears before they fell. The king would stand behind her, place a hand on her shoulder and whisper, "Our time will come. The gods are only taking their time to mold our blessing." But even his voice trembled, because deep inside he was afraid. They had waited for so many years. Then, one blessed morning, the queen screamed so loudly that the guards dropped their spears. She had noticed changes in her body that seemed like a glimmer of hope. The palace physician was called at once, and after examining her, he smiled and shouted, "Her Majesty is pregnant." The joy that filled the palace that day nearly lifted the roof. The king threw a great feast before the sun even finished rising. Drums thundered, women danced, palm wine flowed. Everyone in the kingdom was happy. 9 months later, Princess Ola was born. The king wept openly like a child as he held his baby in his arms. The queen laughed until tears soaked her wrapper as she watched her bundle of joy shake her tiny fingers. The whole kingdom rejoiced because the child they had waited for had finally arrived. And from the moment Ola opened her eyes, everyone knew she was special. She was beautiful. Her skin glowed like fresh palm oil. Her eyes shone like a calm river at sunrise. And her tiny fingers curled with the elegance of a born princess. Because she came after many years of waiting, her parents loved her with fear. They guarded her like a fragile egg and pampered her like a sacred jewel. One cry, 10 attendants appeared. One small frown, the queen panicked. One request, the king granted it before she finished speaking, even if it cost the king half of the kingdom. And slowly, without anyone knowing when the trouble began, Princess Ola became the most pampered and spoiled child in the kingdom. By age 5, she had a maid for everything. One brushed her hair, another picked her clothes, another fed her, another fanned her, another carried her toys. One sang for her when she was bored, and another pulled her upstairs whenever she claimed her legs were too tired. All the palace maids were at her beck and call. By age 10, Princess Ola could not even lift a handkerchief if it fell beside her. She would stare at it dramatically and shout, "Somebody! Please come on! My hand is allergic to stress." And the maids would rush like soldiers going to war. As she grew older, her beauty blossomed. Men tripped over stones while staring at her. Women shook their heads in admiration. Even the sun seemed to linger above the palace roof just to look at her. Yes, she was that beautiful. But with all that beauty came a laziness so strong that even Tortoise would shake his head and say, "No, this one is lazy." Princess Ola did not work unless it was necessary. Why work when people could carry her? She never even opened her own window. She never waved her own fan. If her wrapper slipped slightly off her shoulder, she would scream, "Chimo! Is there nobody in this palace again? Somebody come and help me before I faint." The palace staff suffered. Some maids developed back pain from serving her. Some hid behind pillars whenever they heard her voice. One cook nearly cried because Ola rejected 20 meals and demanded that the next one be seasoned with the exact number of happiness in her heart. How will I know the number of happiness in her heart? The poor cook wailed. Soon, the whole kingdom began to murmur. What kind of queen will she become if she cannot lift one finger? The villagers whispered. But the king and queen defended her. She is our miracle baby. She deserves comfort. Years passed, and Princess Ola became a young woman. Once, her beauty could make a palm wine tapper miss his steps. But laziness is a wicked thief. Slowly, it began to steal what the gods had given her, because she never moved her body to do anything, and she ate like a thief. She began to gain weight, then more weight. Her steps became slow. Her breathing became heavy. She could no longer walk from her bed to the door without panting like someone grinding pepper with a heavy stone. The palace had to adjust to her new size. Carpenters widened her door. Special stools with wheels were built. so maids could roll her around the palace. At bedtime, her maid Chiamaka had to turn her on the bed like roasted corn. Turn me left. No. Okay, right. Let's go left again. Ola would complain. This side is too stressful for my bones. At feeding time, the maids matched her food as they fed her with their hands, like a royal baby. The palace whispered, God forbid laziness like this. Still, Ola saw nothing wrong. Every day, she had 3 favorite routines: eat, sleep, and complain. She was now of a marriageable age, yet no suitor came to ask for her hand in marriage. Not even one confused man. It was at this point that the king and queen started to become worried. One night, sleep refused to enter the royal chamber. King Amadi paced back and forth. I cannot believe my daughter cannot pick a cup, he muttered. Is this how she will rule Olamma? Queen Adora cried into her wrapper. We spoiled her, my king. It is all our fault. We loved her wrongly. Look at what she has become. The king stopped pacing. Then, we must correct it. The next morning, he gave a shocking order. Every maid that served the princess was dismissed. When the maids heard the news, joy exploded in the palace. One fell to her knees thanking her ancestors. Another danced until her wrapper almost fell loose. 2 hugged each other crying, we're finally free! We're finally free! It was as if they had finally gotten out of a prison cell. But when Ola heard what happened, her scream shook the palace. No, Mommy. Mommy, you can't do this to me. Who will bath me? Who will dress me? Who will carry me around? Do you want me to die? The queen trembled, but the king stood firm. You will learn how to be a proper woman, he said, whether you like it or not. And it was so. For the first time in her life, Princess Ola was alone. No one came to turn her. No one came to feed her. No one came to clean her room. By the 3rd day, her chamber had become a disaster. Plates were littered everywhere. Clothes lay like fallen hills. Leftover food had started smelling. Even the palace cat entered, hissed, and left. A bold rat jumped onto her pillow and sat beside her like a roommate. Ola screamed and threw a slipper. She missed. The rat only shifted to the other side and relaxed on the bed. So this is how I will die, she cried. When hunger became too much, she crawled towards the kitchen like a suffering elephant. By the time she reached the door, sweat had soaked her face, and her wrapper was half open. The queen could not bear to see her only daughter suffer. She begged the king to bring the maids back. but he refused. She will never change if we help her. One night, the king summoned the princess to the throne room. He had had it up to here. She dragged herself in as usual, breathing loudly. "Ola," the king said, "I won't let you bring shame to our name. I've given you a long time, but you've refused to change. Now, you have 2 weeks to clean yourself, to learn to walk and take care of your basic needs. If not, I will marry you off." Gasp filled the hall. Ola blinked in shock at first, then smiled as a thought crossed her mind. That's not a bad idea, father. But the man you intend to marry me to, is he wealthy? Will he have strong maids to carry and turn me on the bed? Silence fell. The king's eyes widened. What? What did you just say? "I cannot suffer," Ola continued. "He must have plenty maids, and I think finding me a wealthy husband won't even be a bad option, as I am tired of suffering in this palace." "Get out!" the king thundered. "Now!" That was the final straw. 2 weeks passed and nothing changed. If anything, Ola grew worse. She was now waiting for her new rich husband. But the king had other plans. Little did our princess know that her father had already made a decision that would change her life forever. What did King Amadi have planned out? Well, let's find out in part 2.